All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. With us today is Joshua with ACF-SR. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Technology is great when it works, and we just had a few issues, so we are good to go here. Joshua, take it away.
How's it going, everyone? I'm not too familiar with using Zoom, but we're going to do our best here. And I always think it's a little bit awkward talking at your computer when the office is empty, but some of you I may be able to see and some I might be able to hear, but I think the best way to kind of go through this is we have Travis coming on here. If he's not on yet, I'm not sure. But Travis, are you there?
He's not here yet, no.
Okay. Well, he'll be here soon. We can get
He's
started.
coming in right now.
Okay. I know everyone's been waiting, so we can get started. How's it going, Scotty? We will, what I think the best way to do this is that I share our screen and we'll go through a bit of a PowerPoint with you guys and we'll leave some questions to the end. We have some information to share with you based on, you know, the journey of advanced ag and kind of our story over the last really 20 years or so. But more specifically, the last 4 years when we've been involved in agriculture. And a lot's been going on in those 4 years, as you'll see. And then what I'm going to do is turn it over to Travis. Oh, there he is. And he'll be able to talk about the product itself. He was actually the very first farmer to ever use our product. And that's really where this all got started. So since then, he's been working with us pretty much every day. Working with our clients, end users, dealers, and has been around the product for 4 years now. So I will I'll share my screen right now, and we'll go through the PowerPoint. If you think of any good questions, make sure to write them down so you don't forget. And yeah, we'll try to answer them as best as we can at the end.
There's actually a chat button at the bottom here on your screen. If anybody has any questions at any point for Travis, write them in the chat button and we'll make sure that Travis gets asked.
Okay, so do I just click desktop 1, Dwayne, for share screen?
There should be a button at the bottom, just share screen.
Yeah, and I just push desktop 1.
Yeah, whatever screen you want to share.
Okay, looks like I gotta open my preferences here to allow me to share it. Okay, see if that works. Okay, did that work for everyone?
Yes, it did.
Okay, perfect. There you go. Good stuff. We're on a roll now. All right. So ACF-SR. My name is Joshua Daychief, as Dwayne had mentioned. I am one of 3 family members and owners of Advanced Ag. Mom, who is actually on this Zoom call, there she is, started this thing 20 years ago. And again, I'll go through a few slides here, kind of tell you the journey of Advanced Ag, what we've done in terms of research in different industries and how we got to this point. So this is our some of our team members, some of our other dealers in Saskatchewan and Southern Alberta as well. We're actually from Raymond, Alberta, a small town southeast of Lethbridge. And we have a very small team. Like I said, we're family owned and operated, and we're a very, very tight knit team, to say the least. So you can see there, Mom is in the front, and my sister's just to the, I guess, her left in the picture, not the blonde one, the brunette next to the blonde. And the 3 of us are the owners of Advanced Ag. I might be biased, but I believe our team is the best team out there for what we've been able to accomplish in the last few years. So where this all got started with biologicals and bacteria was really 2001, so 19 years ago. Mom was an instructor at the college. She has her PhD and was an instructor at the college. She's now retired, but she was doing research with the college, and specifically the aquaculture center at the college, on taking different species of bacteria, blending them and culturing them. And you know, really the first 5 or 6 years, I would say, was really just focused on, you know, mixing different types of bacteria and growing them. It's a very difficult thing to do, believe it or not, as Travis will point out later in the presentation. So yeah, this is a picture from 2001, and that's John Dirksen. He's the chair of the Aquaculture Center, and he's been you know, one of our cheerleaders since day one. This is actually where our research was focused, was water remediation to start. The technology was developed in Cleveland, Ohio by a gentleman by the name of John Wong. And many of you who maybe were at the Lethbridge meeting or one of our meetings in the last few years may have met him. But the technology was actually invented for wastewater, so sewage treatment. But a lot of the research we did with the Aquaculture Center and John Dirksen was focused around pond remediation and lake remediation. So this is the kind of stuff we were focused on. This was the city of Calgary. I want to say 2015 or 2016. We were treating a lot of ponds, but we were using bacteria, growing and dosing bacteria into these ponds to cycle nutrients and break down the organic matter in the bottom of these ponds. So what you're really seeing is a natural remediation. This is all in 1 year. So this is just a matter of months. The city of Calgary, if you visit our website, you can see numerous case studies and large lake treatments. So this is something we've been doing for a long time. We still do it. We have a water division. We treat a lot of dugouts, you know, but, you know, at the end of the day, we, up here in Canada, we have the most fresh water in the world. So water really isn't an issue for us. Compared to other countries. So we work with a lot of Hutterite colonies around our area. If you know Raymond at all, we're surrounded by about 22 different colonies just around the town. So we work a lot with their water treatment, sewage treatment, manure management. And I think this slide here, if you've ever been to Lethbridge, Henderson Lake is really the focal point of Lethbridge. It's kind of the gem of the city. You got a golf course on it. You got people walking around it nonstop. It's in a high-end neighborhood. This was, and I always have this slide up here because it was really the biggest eye-opener for us, treating this lake. It was our first massive job using our bacteria. So at the Aquaculture Center, we were brewing out of tanks. I want to say they were 500-gallon tanks, and we had about 8 of them going, and we were dosing this lake every week. Now, the reason this was an eye-opener for us is because we had a 3-year contract to treat the lake, and the goal was really to reduce the sludge and organic matter, and to see how the bacteria were working. We knew it was working on stormwater ponds and small bodies of water, but was it going to work on the lake? And we really only had one place to dose it, and that was at the boat dock. So the bacteria would have to spread. And I think if we're being 100% honest, we weren't sure how it was gonna pan out. So this was an eye opener. Over the 3 years we treated, you can see we reduced the sludge by 64%. So we knew our brewing and culturing technologies were working on a large scale, and this was revolutionary for us, and not just us, but for water treatment in general. So we still do work with a lot of municipal sewage treatment operations. This is in the town we actually live in. This is all within 1 year. You can see the sludge build up when the ice melts. There's a lot of organic matter. The sewage lagoons stink. We can break down that organic matter using bacteria. So going back a number of years, Mom and Cal Koskowich on her right there, he's a National Research Council rep, and they have funded our research projects now for every year since we've been in existence. We won an award with them as Canadian Innovation Leaders, And that was our member of parliament there in this picture at the time. We've also recently, just in 2018, won an award with the Canadian Environmental Technology Advancement Corporation. It's something we're very proud of. They've brought us on as mentors and to work with other environmentally clean technologies in Canada. So that's something we're proud of. So the water stuff is exciting, it's great, but again, we live in an area of the world where, you know, water, we may think we have an issue, but at the end of the day, it's really nothing compared to, you know, India and China and some of these other places, Mexico, where this technology is really taking off. So we got into our head scientist, this is John Wong here, got into doing research on using different species of bacteria for plant growth promotion. And he was doing some of this research years before we even got into it in some third world countries, and doing some small projects on pineapples and avocados and aloe vera and things like that. And we were seeing a really good response with a blend of bacteria. But what we wanted to do is take that to the next level. So here are the 5 species. You're going to see them highlighted. You're going to see them talked about. Google them, research them as much as you want. We put it out there, and I think that's been really important. We've had to do that in the water industry. We've had to disclose what our ingredients are to be compliant, you know, treating natural bodies of water. So as we got into agriculture, we realized that there was a lot of this going on. And we were originally thrown into that category. And, you know, we didn't have all the Canadian research. We had some research around the world, and even published papers in Europe. But without Canadian research and data, this is the category we were thrown into. And I guess more than anything, I'm not a farmer. I haven't been involved in agriculture that long, but this took me back a little bit, because there were products that weren't disclosing ingredients. They were making claims. And the most surprising part is, you know, they were making sales, and big sales. So what we tried to do here was really separate ourselves from this snake oil concept and label that, you know, many of these biological products have been given. So, and that's going to happen with research. We have some slides later on where we'll be able to talk about some of the research plots. Scotty might want to pipe in on that. And you maybe have heard Scott Walker talk about some of the research and data we've been able to get doing plot work and field work. This is actually with the University of Lethbridge. This is a direction we're looking at going here in 2020, depending on how things work out with this virus here, with the U of L. They have a state-of-the-art science facility. We met with their research team, their R&A team, and we're going to be doing something from a lab and taking it to the field. So we're really excited about that. But I guess my point is, at the end of the day, this research concept has been so important. And doing research for 19, almost 20 years, and having that ingrained into our values with the water side and moving into agriculture has been more than important for us, so that we can step away from this whole snake oil concept and move into a legitimate biological product. So you'll see some of the research we've done over the last few years. I do want to give a shout out to Scotty, because he is the guy 3 or 4 years ago, it's all kind of bunched together now, but he's the guy that said, hey, if you're not doing research, then you're gonna be stuck with this label. And at the time, we didn't have the money on top of the research we were doing for water to take on these big projects with Dr. Bill Hammond. But we're sure glad we did, because we noticed significant trends. We on certain crops, on many of the crops, we noticed, you know, results aren't near as good, but that's a good thing for us, because we want to follow that success and treat the crops that we know have some success with this product. So this is how it's gone. This is where Raymond is located. This is where our head office is, and over the last 3 to 4 years, we've we've had one brew facility here, and now we have 25 sites with our brewing technology, and it's just snowballed. So we'll get into that a little bit as to how that's happened and why that's happened. But it's definitely something that's really exciting for us. And now as we move into more international sales, it's really exciting for us. So this is where I think we can turn it over to Travis, because we can talk about the very first application. We look at this brew unit here, and he can talk about that now and what we have, his little birdhouse on the top of his tank to where we're going now. I believe the next slide is actually Carlisle Liquid Starters. It's their unit. And we'll highlight some of the features that they have once we finally get them all set up with no hiccups. So Travis, maybe you want to take over here.
Yeah, you betcha. So I'm Travis Albrecht, 4th generation farmer in southeastern Alberta. We ended up contacting, or I ended up contacting Josh 5 years ago. I was looking for the next greatest thing to add to our arsenal for farming, and biologicals were a big thing. And I was looking for lots of different products. And one thing that really stuck out why to use ACF-SR was they were the only company that actually would tell me what is in their product. And they there was no secrets. They let me talk to John, the guy that actually developed the product. No other company even remotely let me get anywhere close to a guy that developed the product before. So we shipped up 2 55-gallon drums of pre-brewed product from Cleveland, and we sprayed it on some peas. The first year noticed phenomenal root development, bigger leaves, bigger pods. We had 2 to 3 more peas per pod in each pea plant. And the only sad thing is we ended up getting hailed out that year. And then we moved over to building the very first brew unit, which is the primitive little birdhouse that was in that picture. Actually, I should try and share my screen here. Give me a second here.
It's in the middle at the bottom there, Travis, says share screen. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking for my PDF here. Is it working now?
There you go. Yep.
Yeah. Now I gotta figure out how to scroll here. Apologize, my internet's a little slow compared to most people's. I'm not even in the MBS here. I'm still in the KBS here this morning. There we go. So first brew station, my aerators are on top of the tank. I have a little control box beside, and it's nothing fancy, but it's worked, and it's still working today. We're actually gonna fire it up on Saturday to start our first brew for the season for our alfalfa. So basically, this is how our brewing technology works. We heat water up to 27 degrees C with aeration, and once we hit 27 degrees C, we put our base product in. We will brew it for 48 hours, and at the 48-hour mark, we will add our liquids. And after another 24 hours, it will all shut down and your product is ready to use. So now we developed the Brutus, which Carlisle Starters has, which is much fancier than my little birdhouse, which is all PLC controlled. And this is the setup that is mounted in Carlisle Starters right now. And here's what the touch screen looks like. Everything is all controlled and data logged, so we can ensure quality of product for all the people using ACF-SR. That is a big difference between us and a lot of our competitors that are brewing teas or extracting teas from compost. We start with a base product where we know the bacteria counts, and with our patented brew technology, we brew them in such a way that we know where the endpoint of each bacteria is, the same all the time within a very tight range, and it's almost cookie cutter, so you can guarantee your quality of product when you're getting it from Carlisle Liquid Starters. So first product was me in Canada. This is how we apply our first application of ACF-SR on our farm. This is my Paralink 3310 Burgo drill, has a dual liquid setup. The front tank on this liquid cart is my ACF-SR mixed with G22 from Alpine. That is run through its own distribution setup, runs right in the furrow to get right down below the seed. And the back tank is our liquid nitrogen and sulfur, which is separately side banded. We found that putting ACF-SR in furrow is giving us our best results. And I've found no incompatibility with Alpine. It mixes very well with Alpine. If we are mixing it with a phosphate fertilizer, we recommend low salt, below a 20 salt index to mix with to start, and mix it at the drill if possible. We don't want it mixed in tanks, 2 or 3 days prior. We want it mixed at the drill, and hopefully the tanks are emptied within a day. So these are some green lentils that we grew on our farm in 2016. These had 27 inches of rain on them, and we had applied ACF-SR in furrow with that drill with 5 gallons of Alpine, and there was no other applied P to this field at all. And we applied ACF-SR again, foliar, just prior to flowering, probably just after this photo was taken. And with 27 inches of rain, we had almost absolutely zero disease. And these greens come off as a #1 in 2016, which was almost unheard of. Here's another picture of my reds that were flowering at the same time. You can see from the picture, very little to no disease. So these had, on top of no fungicide, they had 0 seed treatment on them. Went in as bare seed, just inoculated with a regular peat inoculant, and just the ACF-SR in furrow, and another application of ACF-SR prior to flower, and they come off. We were averaging right around 45 bushels an acre on our greens, and our reds were in the high 40s that year. And all the reds were top quality also. A lot of our neighbors around had 3 passes of fungicide on their red lentils in 2016, and theirs were coming off as either a 4 or a sample grade. So one thing that I've noticed with ACF-SR, we might not always win in bushels, but almost 100% of the time we're producing better quality product, whether it's better quality hay or better quality seeds coming off. We're noticing higher protein in our pulse crops, in our lentils and peas. We're consistently 2 to 3% higher protein in our pea and lentil seed coming off. When we keep our own seed, our germ and our vigor are much higher when we're using ACF-SR. Same with our durum. We're holding better kernel weights as we've been dry the last few years. In 2018, ACF-SR was the difference between 400 gram kernel weight for me and 370, which was the difference between a #1 and a #3 durum. So it equated to a lot of money. I know a lot of farmers, including myself, want to know about ROI, and we are working really hard with yield trials, and we do see very good yield trial results, but yield to me depends all the time on which part of the planet you're standing on, growing conditions. We try to use irrigated plots so we can take a lot of the other factors out, but even on any given year on our farm, a pound of N doesn't always produce the same bushels as a pound of N the next year. So we're going to continue working really hard with yield trials, but we want to really focus a lot of our research on quality, storability on the potatoes, other avenues of where guys are going to see ROI faster and maybe bigger ROI than building more bushels. Here's just another photo of my red lentils in 2016. This is some remediation work that I did with ACF-SR. This flat in this picture that's alfalfa now was a high salinity patch where we had a dam on this quarter for about 50 years. We pushed the dam down and the guys just pushed all the clay on top, and it was high salinity soil. So it grew kochia weeds, sow thistle, and foxtail. So we ended up spraying 4 gallons of ACF-SR prior to seeding alfalfa and barley as a cover crop. And this is actually the 2nd year established stand. And we couldn't grow anything in this when I was a kid. Crops would get to about shin high and burn off, and the kochia weeds would come through. So right now we turn this patch around basically to some of the best producing land on our farm, because the water table's high and the alfalfa is getting, you know, water all the time. This is actually 2nd cut in 2017, and I'm the only guy in my area, immediate area, that is getting 2 cuts of alfalfa. And this was in 2017, was another dry year for us. If we actually get a big rainfall year again, I'm going to try and push this alfalfa to 3 cuts, because with the ACF we can grow it faster, and we seem to have almost 0 winter kill and very, very healthy plants. We've actually brought back some pivots that are right beside me that were seeded in 1995, and I'm going to do some picture documentation on them this year, that we're bringing the crested wheat back and the alfalfa back better than they've had better crops than they've ever had alpha fresh seeding.
Travis, just got a question here. With that wheat, did you see a higher HVK and falling number on it, or was that a thing that
higher HVK for sure? Falling number, I had high falling number just because it was ended up being really high quality. But yeah, we were in the 90s for HVK. I think it was between 93 to 95, and where we didn't have ACF on, and it was the low kernel weight, we were down in the high 70s for HVK, low 80s.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Here's some more pictures of our 2nd cut alfalfa in 2018. This was actually a picture down on some red lentils that we toured this year from our dealer out in Tabor through ICI. So here you can see the sprayer track is very clear where ACF-SR was put on these lentils. And very dry year. This is down by Warner in southern Alberta, and we didn't get yield data back because the Hutterites combine them the opposite way and went across this, but very, very visual noticeability here. Here's another corn picture from ICI. This got hailed out sadly, but root development is very, very major. And that's one of the biggest things on our farm. I'm trying to build bigger and better roots, and I know everybody tells you don't get paid for it, and I don't get paid for it either, but I'm looking at the long-term game on our farm. If I can build more root mass consistently every year, because moisture is such a big problem for me, I will create more organic matter and try to remediate my soils from all the days of summer fallow and our high salinity or high salty fertilizer applications that have kind of made a brick about 3 inches below all of the surface right now. Here's another interesting picture from our ICI field tour in 2019. This is a potato field on Jeremy Wynn's farm, and right where we're standing is a high salinity patch that they could never grow potatoes in. And he used ACF. This was his 2nd year applying ACF on this corner, and you can see the potatoes aren't quite as good as the rest of the circle, but they're way better than what he had before. So this had 3 different applications of 2 gallons per acre on this patch, and he was absolutely thrilled. And I think we got another picture, I don't know. We actually dug potatoes here, and they looked really, really good. They weren't quite as big as the rest of the field, but all in all, they were definitely a decent producing potato, and he was going to make money on it. So I'll kind of dive into some product science here from Dr. John's presentation. So basically, with our plant growth promoting bacteria, we want to get it as close to the seed as possible. Definitely with liquid systems is your best bang for your buck. As close to the rhizosphere as possible is where you will see your greatest results. We had a few guys actually treat their seed last year, And even though we are not a seed treatment and we don't sell it as such, the guys that did it last year will continue to do it. So I figured I'm going to do it on our farm so I can, share my experiences, because I actually never thought of doing it up until now. So Dr. John has, 30 years of research with bacteria and plant promoting, growth promoting bacteria. He is our go-to guy to answer all the really hard questions. I kind of bring it down to the farm level as best I can and do as good a job as I can to try and explain the science aspect. So these are our 5 bacteria, as Josh mentioned before. Look them up. We encourage as much research on your own as possible, and to send us emails or calls or texts with the hardest questions you guys can, and we will definitely get answers for you guys. Well, there's no question we won't tackle. So basically, to me, this is one of the key slides for ACF-SR in a nutshell. Sums up exactly, what it will do for your plants and in your soil. And we can send screenshots to everyone, or take a screenshot of this is really important. And I've done tons of reading on, everything that is on this chart. So some key functions of our nitrogen, or of our phos solubilization with the plants. The only phosphate that plants will take up is orthophos. And one thing I've seen with ACF-SR, I got really high soil pH and high magnesium soil. So my soil pH is, while my best quarters are 7.8 and my high quarters are around 8.2. So that's why we switched to running G22 about 9 years ago, because we kept putting down 1152 and we've seen results for the first couple years and we weren't getting our money back and really no ROI out of it. So we switched to G22 and we've seen a definite bonus in G22. And when I found ACF-SR, that was another piece to the puzzle. We're getting better results than ever out of less phos application and more ROI for our farm. So basically our ACF-SR is just breaking down the bonds, chemical bonds in our soil, then allowing more phosphate that is in our soil to be used by the plants. Here is basically a slide showing how some of our bacillus, so that white plate there is tricalcium phosphate. The bacillus is in the center, and I think it's blue, but apparently I've been told I'm a little colorblind. But the halo around the center is actually orthophosphate. So that's bacillus breaking down the tricalcium phosphate. So nitrifying bacteria, we all need more N. And what I've noticed is we've been able to cut fertilizer rates with our ACF-SR. We were 240 pounds of granular dry product is where we used to be. And now we are down to about 80 pounds of dry product. So we're only putting down 40 actual pounds of N now. And we used to be putting down 100 pounds of actual N. So we've been able to reduce our synthetic fertilizer rates substantially, which has in turn helped us save a lot of money and increase our ROIs on our farm. So here's just a chart showing your soil pH and your phos availability. So in high soil pH, calcium is your problem. Low pHs, aluminum and iron can be your problem. Here's just another slide showing the haloing effect and the P solubilization of what ACF-SR will do.
I think a key point with that one, if you can go back to that, Travis, is John builds his functions into the bacteria. So you'll see there are products out there that will have similar species in their blend. But with what John does is very unique. He actually builds functions into the bacteria. So what he'll do is he'll starve, like for example here, the bacillus of phosphate, so that when it's applied to tricalcium phosphate, it its function is built into it to do a certain thing. The analogy I use is, you know, if we have one guy that's training to be a bodybuilder and one guy that doesn't train, like me, and has been in quarantine and eating way too much food, the guy who's been training over here is going to be able to do a lot more in a gym than I would. So it's really, actually, you know, John talks about this, and I think there's a slide a little bit later on too, but this is one of the keys to our success. People talk about numbers, and Travis will talk about this too, and different species and all this. If the functions aren't built into the bacteria, they may not do anything. So I do believe there's another slide highlighting this, but I just wanted to point that out. Every single species that goes into our product goes through this testing to ensure that the functions are built in before going out to market.
Yeah, and that is basically another, not just our brewing process and our basically quality and guaranteed analysis of product. It is how John has figured out how to make the bacteria do what they do. And we will get into the brewing. I'll skip through some slides here so we can get to that. This is another very, very important slide to me that, you know, on my own, I did a lot of research on, you know, everything on the left-hand side of the column, what it actually does for plants, and our bacteria are across the top, which are doing which functions. And it kind of helps me figure out a lot of the pieces of the puzzle of why this stuff works the way it does on the plants on our farm. So basically what Josh was getting at here is when you're trying to extract compost tea or just brewing random bacteria with heat and molasses and worm castings, you have way more species than we will ever have, but a lot of them don't really provide any function. And you can see on the time on the left and bacteria A here in the center, after 5 hours, you have 1,024, and bacteria B on the right is only 32. And from listening to John speak, basically the bacteria that have functions or that will do something for you in your soil, and the good ones that you want, are the slow reproducers. So really, when you're brewing, you know, teas for 3 to 5 days, it's all about survival of the fastest with these guys. And you're brewing a whole bunch of bacteria, and you'll have billions and billions of them, and most of them won't do anything, because a lot of the ones that are beneficial are the slow reproducers. And that's where we have it figured out with our 5 species. John has everything measured out when you get your base product, that they all come to the right count at the end of that brew cycle. And that's why we produce results 9 times out of 10 in the fields compared to our competitors. And that is a big difference in when you're buying ACF-SR compared to a tea. You can actually, it's almost replicated all the time, where teas, there is no control on what you're getting and what your counts are or what's even in them. This is just going over the survival of the fastest. Wanted to take, one thing I want to touch on too is our bacteria. Lots of people are always worried about their bacteria dominant soil. Our bacteria survive for 4 to 6 weeks in your soil, and they do those specific functions that are listed in all these charts for 4 to 6 weeks. After that, they slowly die off, and they do not harm the natural bacteria and fungi balance in your dirt. They actually promote natural fungi growth, so it will actually promote and make your soil healthier. You never have to worry about adding too much ACF and getting your bacteria and fungi levels out of balance or out of whack. So we'll actually kind of go into this, these slides. Basically, this one here, one thing to take away from this is bacteria are 3.5 billion years old and fungi are only 1 billion years old. So just one thing to kind of pay attention when everybody's trying to sell you beneficial fungi. Another thing about beneficial fungi, they only live for about 7 days. So you can apply those fungi products every 7 days if you actually want to see results, and it gets very expensive, where our bacteria will naturally promote fungi growth and beneficial fungi growth in your soil for 4 to 6 weeks as the ACF is applied. So basically, like Josh was saying earlier, it's not our specific bacteria, because everybody can get our bacteria. It's the functions built into our bacteria is what's patented and in North America, and John has worldwide patents on the functions that is built into ACF-SR. Because there will be lots of people that are using Bacillus or Rhodopseudomonas or Nitrobacter bacterias, but they will perform differently than our ACF-SR will. So we are working on a biopesticide and a biofungicide. We'll just touch on it a little bit here. It's going to be called Chitotrol. So basically, Chitotrol, you can see here, I'm just going to back up a few slides to this one. If you're using ACF-SR, you are actually on the left-hand column right in the middle, you're actually getting chitinase production out of 2 of our Bacillus species. And that is why, in my opinion, we are seeing healthier plants and healthier chickpeas in and around Regina, and healthier lentils and chickpeas on our farm, is because we are promoting the natural fungi growth and natural chitinase and chitin will actually go in and attack the fungi that is hurting your plants. So basically, John developed Chitotrol for, I guess, people that aren't using ACF-SR, or in special instances where ACF-SR doesn't have enough chitinase production to control your fungal infection on your crops. So we're hoping to get registration on this product, hopefully maybe 2020, 2021. Josh, I'm not really sure how that's going with the whole COVID crisis. But they are working on banana plantations in Florida, and banana plantations were decimated by black sigatoka, which is a form of fusarium. And with our Chitotrol, they can actually grow bananas again on these plantations. And basically, this is Chitotrol up against Phyton 27, which is a chemical sold by other retailers. And here's just some of the trials they were doing. And you can see in this chart, Chitotrol is T3. You can see how we knocked the disease down. And then on the second dose, it went down even further. Third dose, we almost eradicated the disease. So basically, the other fungicides were the blue line. So basically, it was controlling the disease, and then on the second dose, in between the second and third dose, you could see it ramp up again, just like all other fungicides do. They basically put a Band-Aid on it, and then the disease comes back. Where we're hoping to, with our Chitotrol, actually start to eradicate diseases in your fields with a one-time treatment, hopefully.
Travis just got a question here. Any idea what the kind of cost Chitotrol will cost per acre?
It's going to be very similar to fungicide. We're probably going to be that $15 an acre to $20 an acre. The only biggest thing is what we're going to do to promote it is it's totally safe. You can get this on your skin and it's not going to hurt you. And also what we're working on with quality, with the better quality lentils we're growing and better quality chickpeas, and if we can spray a fungicide that is, you know, certified organic and not harmful, farmers should be getting premiums for that. And we had some talks with some people that are grain buyers and whatnot already, to hopefully get the wheels in motion for that farmers can really start seeing some big ROIs and price bonuses for that stuff too. Because I really think the general public will want that eventually when the world gets back to normal.
So the Chitotrol, I mentioned the U of L research. This is the product we're actually looking at doing more research on, not necessarily the ACF-SR. This is, there's a potato biologist at the U of L that we're working with. and we're going to be doing something in the lab with the Kitatrol and hopefully translating that to the field at Dr. Bill Hammond. So all of those details haven't been worked out, and obviously with the virus, things have at the U of L have really slowed down. So we're just trying to get that figured out. Right now, obviously, it's about getting the label. It's another piece to what we do. We want to do things properly, and with Scotty being involved now with this FSAC group, there's going to be more of an emphasis on having products that are making claims have the appropriate labels of dual registration. That's something we need to do. And I mean, I know that we can do research with the Kitatrol. I think there's a certain amount we're allowed to do. So we are going to learn more about this. We're very excited about it, obviously. I would say most of what we've done so far has actually been in cannabis, and we've seen really, really good responses. But again, very new. We got to get the labels. We're not going to be, it's not going to be really for sale, probably for sure until it's registered. So, but just something to keep your eye on with some of our research projects coming down the pipe.
I do believe if people are using ACF-SR, your need for Kitatrol will go down substantially, just from what we've seen on our farm over the last 4 years of using it on substantial acres. I don't really intend on using Kitatrol on our own farm. If I have to, I will, but I haven't seen the need for it. And after 2016 with 27 inches of rain, I highly doubt I'll ever see that much rain again in my area. And we never needed it then. So I really think if people are using ACF-SR up front in their drills, or even if you can have to spray it on until you get a liquid system, you will see the benefits of quality and plant health all the time, and yield should be there, most of the time.
Three of the species in ACF-SR are in Kitatrol. So the only difference with Kitatrol is there's actually an additional 3 species that are used, and we use a different nutrient formula to grow it. So it's actually, it's not that far off from ACF. There are different things, but with it. But I mean, what we're seeing especially on the disease front with using ACF, has been eye-opening. In particular, we had a grower around Regina basically go fungicide free on his what were they, Travis? What was he doing?
Really chickpeas.
Chickpeas, yeah. So we're seeing a pretty good trend there, but this is definitely something we're really excited about. And obviously, we want to make sure that we have the dual registration label, and so that we can make these claims, because right now it's all about a plant health standpoint, and we're seeing less disease pressure because of that. But if we can put on the label that, hey, this will reduce disease pressure, then that's huge for the industry.
Yeah, we are CFIA labeled, and we always maintain to sell our product as it is labeled. Like I said earlier, it's not labeled as a seed treatment, but guys are using it as a seed treatment and love it. So I'm going to try it out to see what it is. And there is other uses, and we are working really hard, to find the yield bar and what, guys can always expect to see. But at the end of the day, this product is only basically 5 years old on broadacre farming. So it's very, very new, and we definitely don't have all the answers yet, but we're working as hard as we can to get as many answers to growers and customers as we can. And we'll continue to do so going forward. So basically, I always test everything in the garden. This basically sums up why I farm and why I do what I do, is to try and grow the best quality and the best products possible for people that are growing or eating our food that we produce. So this had a gross amount of ACF on, just because I wanted to see if over applying would hurt anything. I would imagine it translates to about 100 gallons an acre at the end of the day. The potato skin might look a little bad in the picture, but that wasn't hilled, and that potato was exposed to sunlight all year. We cut it open. It was perfectly white through the whole center of it. and no hollow heart or anything like that. The beet was absolutely sweet, tasted awesome. It was absolutely incredible. Carrots were really good also. So that's another thing that we find with the edible vegetables, and our grower in Redcliffe Eldorado Farms finds that their storability on their onions and their cabbage is a lot higher where the ACF has been put on. And in our garden, we noticed that where ACF is put on, the vegetables definitely taste better. See, there's some chat here. I better look at what's going on. Anything else to add to that, Josh, or? I guess we're on to the Scotty part of this, but I'm not sure, are we out of time, or how are we looking?
We're good for time. That's not a problem. So if you want to continue, and I can bring Scott in if you want me to unmute him.
Yeah, sure. I think it's all right. We can let Scotty do some talking.
Look out. Here we go.
Scotty, you there?
I am too. Can everybody hear me now, guys? Yes?
Yes.
Yep, you betcha, Scotty.
So who's going to control the slideshow here? What do you want me to do from here?
Oh, I can do it if you want, Scotty.
Okay.
So
So
basically, a little bit of your FSAC stuff, or?
yeah, I might as well identify that for those in the crowd. I can't see who all is participating, but for those that may or may not know, I travel often to different parts of the world to partake in the World Congress of Biologicals. The last one was very intriguing because the biological and biostimulant world is beginning to become heavily regulated. There's a lot of interest in the world to get expedients to the labels because they're so important and they're so natural and not a very difficult thing to move into the marketplace. But the registration thing is going along. We've developed, as these gentlemen talked about, the FSAC group, which stands for the Fertilizer Supplement Advisory Committee, that is putting working groups together, which are members from the industry, be it people like Josh's gentleman, John Wong, involved, to scientists with BASF and Bears. Anybody can join. It gives them a voice, and there they can address any concerns they have with these stimulants in the industry as they process them into a label through the Fertilizer Act. And right now we're trying to get a dual purpose, as Travis and Josh have spoke. The biologicals are fundamental in that there's no single function. It's a functionality created by these applications into the soil rhizosphere. And you might get a substantial impact from one particular species, like let's call the Bacillus subtilis, where we're getting plant growth energy movement and we're getting phosphorus solubilization. But there's also other functions created in terms of fungal control of other diseases in the soil. And that whole rhizosphere is around the root system, but it has an implication throughout the biosphere in the soil. So a product, if it's labeled under the Fertilizer Act right now, is a single label. And that's just simply a plant promoting bacteria. When actual fact, there are dual purposes coming from these biologicals that show a substantial impact on fungicides. So this working group will be speaking to the board of directors of the FSAC, which will then take those produced papers and present them to the CFIA to streamline the registration of these products, so that, as Josh and Travis have alluded to avoid the concerns that the industry is running into in terms of snake oils, the labels are going to be changed in their structures so that if there's any claims made about a product, they have to be supported by a label claim, which requires research. And that avoids having to go through the PMRA, which is upwards of 3 or 4 years with hundreds of thousands of dollars of scientific research. And that creates a whole different cost point. It drags availability of these products way behind. From what I understand, there's a backlog of over 500 submissions right now in the CFIA alone. And they've got to streamline that somehow. So that's where the FSAC committee was put together to help consult with the government parties to bring this evolution of products into the system quicker. Okay, fire away.
Yeah, you betcha. That's
Thanks.
what, big thing about advanced ag. We really pride ourselves on the label and not overselling the product based on false claims. That's definitely not a strategy of our company, where we have seen a lot of our competitors in this space, making really out there claims, and they have no label, and they don't tell anybody the ingredients on the jug, anything like that. And that's definitely not our program or strategy at all.
Yeah.
What's this slide like here, Scotty, or should we get down to the trials?
Yeah, you can go. Yeah, you can carry on. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll zip through all that. Okay.
Yeah, gotcha.
Guys, I just want to highlight that all of these slides and videos from like a full presentation of Scotty at our Lethbridge meeting, which is pretty much the same slides, a little different. I think there's actually more research involved. It's all available on our website, our YouTube channel. That was from our Lethbridge meeting. I mean, we can go through all the data that's on here, Scotty, if you want, but that is all available for you guys to see too. We could breeze through it and get to questions. I know it's already been an hour. It's up to you, Scott Gibson and the CLS group. But I'm just saying that this is all available for the public on our website. And if you need any more research or data, even from international studies, we have all of that.
Yeah, we have tons of small research done in greenhouse. John has a whole terabyte on a hard drive if people like looking at research data.
I think that's a good point, Josh. In the time constraints that we have and everybody's busy, just to give you an idea, as Josh and Travis spoke earlier, one of my key focuses as things come to pass is on research, so that we can identify what crops we can promote it on, where we're getting the best responses, what kind of functionality comes out of that. Some of the turf work that was done last year, we're seeing other aspects of fungicidal activity. We're seeing aspects that are developed in terms of the root growth and the lack of disease around those roots. And the key factor to doing field studies, my hats go off to, the CLSs of the world, who took the time to test it on crops in the field. So that hones in, where do we get our initial ROI from? I know that there's the soil environment and everything else that's very important, but please do bear in mind it takes time to develop all the product uses on the different crops. I mean, I think strawberry is a perfect example. There's research done at a hydroponic greenhouse in Mexico, and people go, well, I want to know if it works at home. Well, there's certain points of research when it's done scientifically that if you can identify the process and functionality of it there, that will overlay to another region in another place, and it will function that way. And for instance, we took the ACF, put it down a trickle irrigation system on strawberries, and it performed exactly the same as the scientific research that was conducted in Mexico. And this is just up the road from where I live. So we need to begin to somehow or other appreciate the science that's behind some of these, so that as we move forward, we simply have to find what commodities that we are putting them on is where we reap the greatest benefits from the ROI outside the soil environment and disease pushback. Because as some of you have heard me speak, it's a big paradigm shift and it's hard to attain. It's been something that I've been passionate about and I've believed in for 30, 40 years. And then some of you have seen me, it oozes out of me when I get all excited in a presentation. But once you understand the process that we're trying to create here with the ACFs of the world and the biological and the soil regeneration process and sustainable agriculture, it is a reality. It is something that is happening. There are dozens and dozens of producers across the Great Plains, whether it's in the northern US or in the prairies here, that are actually accomplishing these things. And I'm not here to say you're spending a whole lot less money, but we're learning how to reallocate those dollars and move them into the system so the whole network performs more efficiently. And of course, instead of the yields being high and low, they start to flatten out those curves as they reach upward. And with that, you develop your ROI. So I really agree with going on the site. There's various sites right now that have an incredible amount of information on there. With that in mind, people know, and Josh and Travis is a support of this. I'm sure there'll be lots of applications moving forward. But right now, I would say canola, corn, and phaseolus beans are one of the things that I'm struggling with getting higher yields. The crop looked fantastic. I mean, if I wanted to go on looks alone, man, it was a home run. But when we got up to the weights and measures, it just fell off, and we just weren't getting the ROIs required to say, let's jump on it. I want to pursue things like applications on as silage corn, because there was a lot more biomass. So bear with us as we develop these different application methods, the various crops to use it on. And I'll leave you with this. And one of the reasons we have to work so hard at the various crops, and because it's not a silver bullet, it doesn't perform the same on every crop, because each crop, whether it's a certain variety within varieties of wheat, or whether it's different crops like corn and canola, or soybeans or chickpeas or peas, the exudates that are generated by that photosynthetic process are different from every crop that we grow. And that, of course, in turn, the implication there is it functions in the soil differently between crops. And if we can get the right triggers, it'll work on as many things as we can come up with, but not necessarily everything. Thank you very much. How's that? Time for questions?
That's good, Scotty. Well, and that's why we got to look at quality. Maybe we're not winning on yield with soybeans and the beans and the soybeans, but maybe we are winning on quality, and maybe higher protein, or better feed value in the corn, or something, right? That's where we want to start diving in a little deeper to that aspect of the research and what's coming off that way. But yeah, I agree with silage corn. Seen massive growth out in BC where, leaves were just physically bigger. So I think silage corn all day long, it's a winner, because you're just trying to grow mass.
Travis, do you want to touch on the canola verbally?
Yeah, you betcha. So the canola has kind of been hit and miss. We've seen some trial results that were really high, and then some that were, flat, to some that actually went backwards. So we are definitely going forward. We've got guys, one of our dealers around Regina is doing some in-furrow with canola this year. He didn't get Lubriderm on his canola, so that we're hoping that was a factor that was knocking us back. So he's going to go with no Lubriderm this year, and he's going to apply 3 gallons in furrow for us, with a little bit of starter FOS, about 2 gallons of starter FOS, and do a trial for us with that. And then he's going to leave some with no ACF and furrow, and we're going to do some at basically early cabbage leaf stage, and hit it that way with 2 and 3 gallons, and hopefully just build a canola program this year that guys can see bushels on. I'd like to actually see if we can do some oil content work, to see if we, even if we're not gaining bushels, if we're gaining oil content, that maybe if guys are growing Nexera canola or any other canolas. We have also some seed canola grower guys out at our ICI group that are growing seed canola. So we're going to see, even if they're not seeing the bushel difference, if they're going to see better vigor and better germ on their canola seed, which is money in the bank for them, for the canola seed producers anyways. But that's what we're going to go for this year. I don't discourage people from using it on canola and corn and soybeans. Just use it in, small amounts that you're comfortable in a trial and to kind of keep record of. Take 40 acres or a tote of 160 acres and do, 4 different strips on fields and see how it's going to perform on those crops. We know, the barley, the legumes, stuff like that, and wheat and durum, it's producing usually bushels all the time. But on those ones where we've seen fairly flat, I wouldn't mind guys, using it with some caution and just not, blowing it on every acre of canola they got, but definitely in, small trials where you can see sprayer strips, stuff like that.
Have you seen any results in hemp applications in respect to CBD yield?
No, the hemp that we did was organic hemp, and they were growing it 3 years ago. So they were still growing it for hemp seed production. They really liked the product, and they said seen an increase in yield for hemp seed, but that market is now tanked and it's all CBD. So from some research that we have, we did see increase in CBD oil concentration, but this year it'll be going on quite a few hemp farms, and we're actually in the cannabis. We're actually going to have some THC results here in the end of May, actually, so we can kind of go off of those numbers, hopefully, but not a whole bunch on the CBD yet.
Perfect. I think that's wrapping it up, gentlemen. Just like to point out that Joshua, in this time of troubled times that we live in, it's amazing to see the donation that you and your family gave of $5,000 in the Lethbridge area. I just want to thank you for that.
Oh, well, thanks, Scott. Yeah, no, it's actually been kind of cool because we've seen a bit of a snowball effect there with other people giving back. I mean, it's not much, but there's people struggling, and I don't think anyone is doing as good as they could, during these times. So we'll make it through. It's tough for everyone. I think the silver lining in all this is people are really appreciating their farmers today. So I think that's a great thing. But we'll make it through.
Perfect.
Hopefully soon.
Just one last question. Rate for treating wheat seed.
I'm just typing it here, but it's easier to talk. Basically, we don't even have any rates, so I'm just gonna basically put mine in one of them treaters that straps to an auger with 2 ball valves on, and we're gonna blow the valve wide open and run it into a 10-inch auger. So that's how I'm gonna do it, and I will do it just as the seed's getting loaded onto the truck to go to the field. So I only want it on there for that day. I want it on there and then put the seed in the ground. I don't think we should be, doing any sort of seed work, putting it on and then leaving it for a week in the bin. What's your thoughts, Scotty? Like, put it on the seed.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, put it
right?
on the seed, and it's live bacteria. It's the same as working with the rhizobia, and we're not using any biopolymers to protect it. So put it on the seed, let it dry on the seed, use the seed, and off you go.
I treat it like a peat inoculant, right? Put it on the truck as it's going onto the truck, and then seed it out that day, and then do it again the next day, right?
Yeah, and the nice thing about having it right on the seed is if you don't have a liquid system, that way you've got it right in that zone of influence at that seed housing, right in that rhizosphere germination, and that will support early season development of the roots and the floss solubilization right from the get-go.
Yeah, I think it's a good way, like you said, if guys don't have the liquid kit, get it on the seed and then, spray after seeding when it works out, when your time works out logistically for you, right?
Yeah,
I think that's right. Full, if your kit works out to like a 1/4 gallon or whatever, an acre, for your seed, then spray, 1 3/4 or another 2 gallons on, post seeding, right? Or just as the crop's emerging.
I think, Travis, too, if you could even put your phone number, I don't mean to just put your number on the internet and everyone.
Yeah.
But
if you're looking for a good time, just phone this number, right?
All that CLS have just been incredible. I mean, it's a huge steep learning curve even for us, but I do want people leaning on information for research, for calling Travis, because at the end of the day, nobody is working with more of this stuff than Travis is, and he is working with all of our dealers, all of our end users. He's going to have the most answers. So I think between him and Scotty and the guys down at CLS, we should be able to answer any questions you have. But never, don't feel shy, giving us a call anytime.
Okay, just for one last note, I guess, before we wrap things up here, everybody, Ryan Parker is out from Advanced Ag today. We're firing up our brew station. We're going to get it all dialed in. We've made a substantial increase in the capacity that we can brew the bacteria properly. And just with logistics, we'll be able to get it out to your guys' farm. So yeah, we're going to be ready to go for spring. We've got about 30,000 gallons of brew station space available at any one time. So we're in the game, we're good to go, and we're going to be super excited to see what we can drive forward here. So I just want to thank Travis and Josh and Josh's family. They're just super awesome to work with. And, we got a really great spring ahead of us, even though it's slow going here, but I think there's a lot of opportunities. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it greening up over there yet? Because I'm not sure if you're ready for forage application over there. Because I think we'll probably be hitting my alfalfa probably next Friday.
Yeah, we're a
Or is
month
it
away.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, a little different story. Yeah.
Yeah, text Ryan and see how far away we are from application.
Well, that's not a bad thing, I guess. The way the brewer will be right dialed in, so that's good. But yeah, no, I'm thinking probably by next Friday I'll be putting seed in the ground for sure. Maybe even before, maybe even Wednesday.
Well, you guys are sitting what, around 17 degrees right now during the day?
No, -2 right now.
Yeah, but during the day, are you getting up to the teens now or not yet?
+6 today. Weekend will be 18. That's what I'll just start driving stuff. Yeah. We've been hot, cold, and then now it looks like we're on the upswing. Get some rain. Start putting some early cereals in, some durum in. Yeah.
Just the last question. Would you recommend it ACF-SR for soybeans?
Yes. Yes. Last year the field work, short weights and measures at 2 locations. One was just short of 4 bushels and the other was a strong 7. So yeah, something like Travis saying, definitely something to pursue. Cereal crops, pulse crops, legumes, turf, hay are the go-to crops. Absolutely. Then the fruits and vegetables. I'm looking in investigating right now into some of the vegetable crops like cucurbits and whatnot, because there's a lot of associated root diseases because of the poor levels of certain bacteria that the ACF have. I sincerely believe going down the road, these functionalities that are going to be generated in the soil from the use of these particular materials are going to create a much healthier environment. Anything I can do to prevent the Fusarium head blight, graminaria, from exploding and sporulating into the air is going to reduce my disease pressure. And all our diseases coming from the ground. Anything I can do to prevent sclerotinia, anything I can do to prevent white mold in soybeans or any of those crops. The sooner I get that looked after at the soil level, the less issues I have down the road. It's a reallocation of funds. Do we have all the answers? Not yet, but we're moving hard as fast as we can.
The other one too, potatoes. Sorry, we did some work with Dr. Bill Hammond last year, saw some pretty good yield bumps, but we have one of the largest potato growers out in Tabor who they're agronomists, and they have, I think, 2 or 3 working for them. Got a hold of us, Scotty and Travis and myself, and everywhere the ACF was, there was a significant quality increase. So they're doing the entire farm, I think 40 to 50,000 gallons. We're seeing some really good things on potato work.
Yeah, and they're a big grower for Frito-Lay is who they grow for. And yeah, like Scotty said, if Fusarium is an issue out there, our Chitotrol has been proven to control Fusarium, while ACF has a lot of the same components as our Chitotrol. And if Fusarium is an issue in your guys' wheat, ACF is a good fit, is a good start. And obviously, if you're still having Fusarium issues, the fungicides aren't doing the trick. So run ACF up against the regular program, and I'm almost sure that you'll see a better bang for your buck anyway. See, there was a question here about mixing it with foliar fertilizers. I would think pretty much anything low salt, you're fine. And same with like micros, you're good. Just definitely not 28 and 1034, stuff like that. Pretty much everything CLS is stellan. I don't see an issue with mixability and ACF.
All right. I'd like to thank everybody for the time, for coming out today, and I'd like to thank our presenters, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Oh yeah, thanks for having us.
Stay home, stay safe.
Yeah, you betcha. We'll see ya. Bye.
Take care, guys. Bye.